Boom, boom. Welcome, Earthlings. This is Aaron Abelman. My pronouns are he, him, they, them, and I'm recording this from the original territories of Huichin, ancestral land of the Chochenyo Ohlone, otherwise known as the Bay Area. I'm so hyped to be dropping in for this Welcome to Earth podcast. Most importantly, I'm really grateful that you're here. Whether you're making food, you're on a road trip, you're just looking to improve your relationship with yourself, your family, and the world, this is the place to be because you are the place to be. I know you're probably wondering, what is this show all about? And is it gonna be about aliens? So if the little beings that contain our DNA yet have their own personalities and mission are considered aliens, then your guess was totally correct. But anywho, this podcast, for real, Welcome to Earth, Adventures in Modern Family Life, was inspired by my daughter and my journey of becoming the best father and guide I can be. So with that, I really hope you'll enjoy these conversations, this storytelling, and this magical adventure. I'll see you on the other side. Peace. In today's episode, we'll be talking about parenting as artists and the work-life balance of today's family world. And we have special guests today, the illustrious, amazing, two-time Grammy nominated Alphabet Rockers. We have Tommy Shepard and Caitlin McGaw. I'm so happy to have you both with me today. Thank you for being here. And just to kick us off, would you mind giving a brief intro and a little bit of your story, because some of my listeners might not have heard your story. I'm so excited that we can dive into your story.
Most definitely, but we always like to, especially in these times where we're all working from different places, acknowledge the land that we're on. So we are on the traditional land of the Ohlone people here in Ohlone Bay. And so I just repping that on my shirt today.
Yeah.
In Oakland, California. And we honor that our people's land here was, we are occupants on this land, and that it's our duty to support their voices, to listen to their knowledge, to uplift their strength in community, and to do the work around that. So I just wanted to start with that. And
Beautiful.
before we even talk about who we are, because we did meet on these lands. And yeah. And also I would just say my full name, Caitlin McGaw, and my pronouns are she, her. Because you're listening, and I don't want you making assumptions about me, so that's who I am.
There it is. Yep, and there's me, Tommy Shepard. Like you said, I noticed that you spelled my last name wrong, though, bro. Because it's like the Bible, like shepherd, like a sheep herder.
Okay.
But you hit the ARD, but
I love
it's a common mistake. The writer. The Shepherd writer spells his name that way. Anyway, yes, and I am a he, him, they. That's how you can, even hey, you, I'm cool, but that's how I identify. And Alphabet Rockers, we've been longtime friends with you. We've been rocking since 2007. We started off making music that was lesson based in schools, and transformed into making music that was outside of the school. We went from the classroom to the schoolyard to the neighborhood. And so now we are actually like broadening the lessons that we are learning and teaching through our communities, and building community and making music that makes change.
So beautiful. There's so much that could be said about our childhoods and our family experience, but tell me a little bit of your upbringing, and however you want to approach that question. I always love hearing the seeds to the mighty tree.
Word. I'm gonna let you take that one,
For
Keenan. I
sure.
like your
And also
story.
just
I
like,
like your teenage stories.
oh, my teenage self. Yeah, let's bring her back. But I will say this too, that when we started Alphabet Rockers, Tommy was barely a dad. Like little T was 3 months old, I think, when we got together.
Mhm.
I didn't have children for years, and but I've always been invested in children. Um, so it's like interesting to talk about that stuff because I know you two, like you were making content for kids, and it certainly we'll get into that later. But my story, I grew up in Massachusetts and still call my parents every day. They're some of my best friends, and we have good times together. So I live here in California because of why did I stay here is a good question, but we won't go all into the story of McG, Caitlin. But when I was about 14 years old, I went to an anti-racism program, and it was kids from all over Boston, the Boston area, all the suburbs, all the red-lined areas, all coming together to have real, honest, and raw dialogue about biases, about culture, about the gender binary and how it, and even the binary of sexuality and all these spaces. And we started breaking down all these boxes around race too. For me at the time, as a young white girl, it was also coming to terms with what does that mean? Because I hadn't really unpacked that at all. And I hadn't had any examples of it either. And I felt pretty angry and disappointed in my, not just my family. Like I wasn't mad at my parents. But we talked about it and we're still talking about it. Like what is going on where it wasn't made clear to me as a young person. And what we know is that there's been a ignorance cooking. Let's keep the kids focused on candy and Santa and not talk about what's really going on. And so that became like a part of who I am, is just like not being afraid to look at the truth and talk about the truth. And what Tommy and I have found in our collaboration is that it's not just us. It's like we want your truth. Like, who are you? And like, how can we make the world with you, in circle? And so that's kind of our continued practice. But those seeds were planted from when I was about 14. And I'm still, I'm still frustrated with some of that stuff, but I let some of it go. It's like, I'm not going to like build for that yesterday. I'm building for today. I'm building the world for who I was. I'm building the world for who we are.
Powerful. Thank you for sharing that. As a profound, profound moment in time that has had incredible ripples. Shout out to that program and also.
It was at the time called the National Conference of Community Injustice.
Dang, that's official.
Yeah. And honestly, like that work is about like not centering one's own nostalgia or healing as the framework for where we're headed. That's what I was trying to illuminate, is like, and that's not from that time. At that time, I was like, I'm a teenager, I'm a fight. Yeah. You would have liked
that. I did. For me, grew up, I would say like I had some formidable years, California from 0 to 12, and then 12 through 15 in Louisiana, and then 15 and a half through the rest of my life back in California. So I got to experience some of that Southern life. I never lost my California, so I was ridiculed the whole time. The black surfer. Yeah, but for most of it, like all that time, I actually thought that I was honestly going to be a clown in the circus. I saw real skill in pratfalling, and I saw real skill in clowning, and juggling and unicycle and tumbling. And so I just taught myself all that stuff. And I really, honestly, as a kid, thought I was going to be in a circus when I grew up. And I had this thing on the side that I did. Beatboxing and rapping and hip hop was just like the life, and not like I thought it would be a career. Uh, and then as I got older, I got out of college and I had the opportunity to audition for like a Commedia dell'arte school, or go to Atlanta and work in the and work at the Olympics. When the Olympics were in Atlanta, I was going to be working for this lady for Nike, just, you know, some promo job, but it was going to pay like deep money. And I was on my way there and stopped in Santa Fe, New Mexico, and met up with the crew that not met up with, but re-met up with the crew that became Felonious when we moved out to the Bay.
Oh my God.
And I just stayed there in Santa Fe instead of going to do the Olympics, and started a hip hop crew. And that's where it was going to be my life after that, you know? And although I still know how to juggle, and maybe if I got on a unicycle, I could still rock. But and I need to get into shape to tumble again. But but still, you know, I was a b-boy and like all these things, and like I always saw the politicalness of hip hop as just something that wasn't entertainment or anything. I was listening to these rappers and these artists that were saying things, especially around the apartheid movement and around all kinds of things, that I was just like, man, this ain't a career. This is just the life. You know what I mean? And so once I got older, I started to see it as a career.
Wow. I'm just curious how that discovery of your creative voice through hip hop, what was that like for you in those early moments? I mean, was it like just light bulbs, and how were you listening? How were you moving through that time? What was your experience of hip hop and you know, as you were coming of age? I'm really curious about that.
Word. Or I'll start. It was always a huge thing to me. The fashion, the streetness, the braggadocio, all of it was like very, now that I look back at it, it was shaping me. And I wasn't like, I gotta let this shape me. It was just happening. You know what I mean? Like I wasn't falsely putting hats to the side, or falsely, you know, grabbing something, like putting the diamond earring in the Playboy bunny. Like, yeah, like all of that stuff, man. Like I thought it was me, and I wasn't trying to copy anyone. As a matter of fact, when I heard beatboxing the first time in Beat Street, I was like, I do that already. Like, oh dang, there's something. It's called something. You know, I was like, oh dang, it's called something. And I was like, oh shoot, okay, here we go. So yeah, man, a lot of things were influential, and a lot of things were just like, oh wow, you already have this, and you're already in there. And so like in college, when people were like, yo, do that party trick, and actually I was my beers and party favors and everything were covered because I did that party trick. You know what I mean? I was like, oh, wait a minute. Oh, wow. People are, well, and then we just got tipped for rapping and beatboxing on somebody's staircase. And oh, snap. Okay, that means something. Let me try to, you know, like make this what's the word, lucrative. Let's see if, like, you know. And at first it was all about the trade. It was all about the meal for the performance, or you go do the farmer's market and you come home with a basket full of veggies and fruits and stuff. You know what I mean? That was our pay.
I love that.
You know, like doing those things. And we really saw that, like, oh, wow, you can actually, this is goods and services. And so, yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's so funny, Tommy, because I feel like I've heard the story of you beatboxing at the party, and actually, because of my empath self, I actually feel like I was there. So I'm all, yeah, we did that. And then I was not there. But I'm all, ooh, yeah, it was hot that night.
I feel you.
Remember that? And I'm all like on the stairwell with you. I'm all, let me be the manager. That's really, I'm all, come on, y'all. This is what I can do for y'all.
Good
That's
storytelling.
funny. I mean, luckily I've known all of the folks from Felonious like close to the heart, and like arms apart. That's it. Like family. My beginnings in hip hop are as a listener. So, like from listening to the first time I heard Midnight Marauders, and I was all, bye everybody. And I was just all, over and over and over. And I was like, every time I think I'd catch on to a few more words. Ooh, like, all of it. Like, I love this, like, the hearts out here pounding with the storytelling. That to me was like, oh, okay. Now, I was also like a little mini hip hop fan, but what was the other movie that came out around Beat Street? Why can't I remember the name? You know what I'm talking about.
Is it the Hollywood one or the not Hollywood?
Yeah, the Hollywood one.
Breaking.
Oh, Breaking.
Okay, so kindergarten Caitlin at Girl Scouts was like all about breaking, and I would like make my drawings, yada yada, put my outfits on, and they would clown me for it. And I was like, anyways, yeah, I was like, come on, y'all, this is it. So imagine if Tommy and I had met each other in kindergarten. Like, imagine if you were in the 4th grade or however older you are, and you saw a little Breaking K, you'd be like, come on, come with.
Let's go. Yeah. Ain't no stopping.
We'd be on the playground like, yeah. On the slide like, what? That's like, if I could relive the life, I would relive that. I'll be at that party.
Right. Well, that's
but for me, the unlock was also like, I always give love to one of the greatest writers of our time is Nikki Giovanni. And it was through spoken word that I really unlocked understanding everything, actually. Poetry, what's important, understood that most curriculum and you should study these great books was garbage. Like, I was like, nothing else matters right now. This is it. Because this unlocks everything. This proves all of that was built up nonsense. This poem alone burned everything. So from that on, I was like, I'm here for the pure knowledge. I'm here for the real, and nothing else is of value. And then, of course, I went to Harvard. So that doesn't really add up. But that I went because there's African American Studies department. So I was like, let's go. Let's do this. Like, where's the other pieces of the puzzle? And I think what's amazing about now is I'm seeing how today's academics are doing that in a way. Like the folks in the 2000s when I was in school, they were doing it for their time. But like the academics right now are like really elevating our culture. They are elevating our culture. I just went to this Black Lives Matter curriculum event, and I was like, these are professors of our time, and they are speaking to our lives. Like they are actually feeding our souls. And that is our job as children's artists, as humans on the planet, is to be on that vibration. And if we are not, we are fooling ourselves, and we are just tools of the state. So,
oh man, yeah, that's real. And the literary canon of hip hop, the truth canon that you're speaking to, that what an incredible thing to say, and an incredible perspective. I ran into the only time I ever performed in Washington, D.C. at the Monument, which was a crazy experience. It was Nelson Mandela's birthday, and there was a big event. And I met this gentleman, Tawedras.
It's my birthday, by the way.
Oh, really?
July 18th.
Greatness. He shares a great birthday. But Tawedras actually helped start I think it might have been the first hip hop studies program at Howard, or that was the first one across the country. And he had a really similar perspective and similar reflection to what you just shared, Caitlin. And of course now it's all being revealed, but before this was, I mean, he had a struggle to get that work stamped by academia. And it was a beautiful testament just to the resilience and power of the truth, and the power of community movement building that got that, now it is everywhere. I was gonna say though, when you both, Caitlin, I think you said, how amazing would it have been if we had met in the playground when we were 4? And I feel like in a way, through your parent, you both are now parents, and the work you're doing with Alphabet Rockers and the incredible, just the incredible joy that you bring to families, not just in the Bay Area now, but all over the world, that you're, in a way, you're giving that opportunity for other little Caitlins and Tommies out there to find their authentic expression. It might not be hip hop. It might be it could be anything really, but your message is so universal. And I was curious, how has becoming a parent, and then of course being a parent artist, how have you navigated that? And I mean, it's amazing in family entertainment and kids music, that space, such a great way to give back. But I'm curious, what's that process been like since Alphabet Rockers started? And that sounds like a 2-part question, but however you want to answer that.
Well, I think both of us initially, before we became parents, well, I guess I was barely a parent when we met, but we were both working in schools and working with kids, and felt that it was important to do that. And I was doing that before I even had one. I was out there saying in my head, I'm going to give these kids what I didn't have when I was in my school. I wanted that cool dude to walk up and just relate to me. Instead, we got the Indigo Girls and for assemblies, and we got the, like guitars, and like literally the Indigo Girls came to my school when I was younger.
It was my favorite band when I was a kid, so I love this story.
Yeah. So, but I mean, we got all kinds of, we got plays and stuff, but they we didn't see ourselves in them and stuff, And so I was like really trying to give that, like when I was with Felonious, going into schools and stuff and presenting the elements as each class, like each one of us taught a class. Rapping, dancing, graffiti, carpentry, making sets, because we were like, this is theater too, and all of that. And so once I met Caitlin, I was like, oh dang, this is actually just already been doing this, we got remember Felonious got commissioned to do that nursery rhyme album, where like we got to know nursery rhymes and how dark they are.
But not dark like Melanin Gorgeous.
No, not dark like Melanin Gorgeous.
Like murder dark.
Like scary.
Yeah. I can't say enough about that. Yep.
Right. But anyway, yeah. So it for me as a parent and being an artist, it didn't really play for me until my son came home talking about the other black kid at the school said the N-word in preschool. And like, then I was like, oh snap. Whoa, okay. And I think it was really probably Caitlin too, who was like, nah, we gotta do something about this, and I was like, you're right. So anyway,
wow.
I'll pass that volley over to Caitlin.
Before we get into that though, I wanted to take a moment for all the parents out there. If you're anything like my family, we struggle with the post-apocalyptic news and stresses of our modern, uncertain world. We often need help communicating, taking time away from it all, or simply processing everything in compassionate ways for ourselves. That's why I've developed this toolkit of self-care products created for the modern family. From a parenting journal with a year's worth of mindful prompts, to family organic tree growing kits, to family dance party music, my team and I are so honored to offer these fun and valuable gifts to you and your family at this time. Plus, you're gonna love the book that started it all and the companion coaching program for those who wish to be a guide for others in this critical work. More on that soon, though. Anyways, please hop over to my website, aaronabelman.com. Take a look at my offerings and products for you and the kids.
Ooh, yeah. And that's, little Tommy at 4 years old. My son Kiran is 4, and he's going to be facing the same stuff. Right now he's kind of isolated, but actually the framework is so pervasive that as a parent of a young person, oh, Caitlin, you're so, this is right here. So I'm like, how'd you get so far along? And I'm like, oh no, I'm in the same fight with you. Like white supremacy is thick and it is everywhere. So every day I have to like choke it out, and like get it out of me in my own, like, if I wake up comfortable, why is that? Like, that's a part of my parenting every day. Some days I'm just so angry. I feel like I failed, that's the process. But I feel grateful that I have a community of parents that are doing this work. It's kind of private work, fighting white supremacy in your home and your school, like, because of the way, white dominant culture has infiltrated our schools. And I'm talking about in our community here in the Bay, because there's not every school is run by white people. There's plenty, like if you read Dr. Bettina Love's book, there's a lot of imagination possible around reimagining Black-centered learning, which is to me, Black-centered learning and culture is actually a place that I want to live in. I don't want to live in anywhere else. So as a visitor, whatever. So how has becoming a parent transformed my work? I think, again, I'm not trying to write for my kids. I'm trying to write for our kids. And so when I meet your child who is trans and tells us like, we want to have songs that reflect his experience, like, that's my kid too. And I don't mean that like I'm carrying the experience, but I want to be next to you and I want it to be of support. I'm not saying, well, I'm going to center all my stories around a child who has light skin, whose dad is dark skinned. That's our family. I'm not writing all my stories about that. Like, that's not what I'm here to do. I'm here to dismantle that prison system with you little by little. And if it starts with just writing songs that embrace our joy, that center our power, that help us actually get outside of ourselves to recognize that your child is my child, that is like gonna be the hard work of this time, is that we are so like, I know I'm rambling and I celebrate it. My brain is beautiful. I am saying that like these times have separated us so much that we were already segregated and now we're scared. I say we, not me. We are scared of learning. We are scared of growing because we have food scarcity. We have health fears. We have, all this, and we have learning separations, all this. But all of that being said, spiritually, we have some biggest work to love one another on that level. And that's always been the case. And that is a part of the road ahead. Like, we can't even build for what we were building for. We got to build for that. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you know what?
As parents.
and what's crazy too is that, in the past year, maybe even 2, but to me, that is recent. I didn't recognize the white supremacist ways and ideals that I was actually living out and letting play out when it comes to acceptance, when it comes to what they say how you have to present yourself, and all these things that are just these things that they put on us from the very beginning and said this is how it has to be. And then it made it easier for other people to be that way, and when you weren't that way, you're not okay and you're not good and you're not these things. And like every day I find another moment where I'm like, I'm just living out this white supremacy shit. And what I've learned, what I really, the takeaway of it is that it's not just affecting white people. White supremacy is so huge and so so in our system that that other people of color are even abiding by it and letting it go by and adhering to it. When and we just and that we got to shed that. Like that's something we have to shed. All of that. Yeah.
And part of that is, I think you were talking about forgiveness earlier, and I was, this is pregame. Sorry, everyone out there who's like, wait, what'd y'all say about forgiveness? We'll just come back to it, because part of it is like forgiving yourself for like, we all, like what you just said, Tommy, like hearing that from you in your body, that should give white people some experience of like, okay, I'm witnessing a Black man speak the truth on how white supremacy has been at work in his job, and you are doing the work like constantly. And you're still in that, like, there's still these threads of like things that get permission to operate, and you're forgiving that out of yourself. Like, I made that, I'm going to get that out too. And so when I talk about the fear that white folks are carrying still around, like, I want to do better, but I don't want to mess up, or all these things. I'm even saying the words that sounds rote because we've all read them in Instagram posts over the last year. But like, it's not rote. It's actually like, that's just kind of it. Like, are you willing to make a mistake? And when we make mistakes as parents, like I made a mistake last week with my kid. We talked about it. We read a book. I had to forgive myself. And I also, because if I go further into it and just be like, let's pay attention to that mistake, then it becomes like an activity that was like actually a lot of stuff. So actually it's like, hey, mom made a mistake, I'm learning. And then they're like, oh, okay, I'm learning too. I spilled milk. Like, they don't have the, like, maybe the mistake I made hurts my heart more than theirs, actually.
Often.
But like, you know, in the same way when he's pouring his milk and spilled and he's like, sorry, mom. I'm like, that's great. Go, you know where the towels are. Now, I'm not saying that spilling milk is the same severity as white supremacy, but I'm saying like, these are daily tasks. So if we don't look at them as daily tasks and give them space in our hearts, then we're just letting them become the unknown when they're actually quite known.
Yeah, that's so well said. And it starts in the intimacy of our homes. You know, we have to really
where you think you're like guards down.
Everywhere is the front lines, you know, and especially, and I think that parents are, for lack of a better term, essential workers, and that, you know, we are and it's the emotional work,
fighting white supremacy. Yeah,
and
that's it.
And awareness and forgiveness. You know, you said that. I think Jesus said that we have to forgive 70 times 7 every day, whatever that number is, 70 times 7. So here we are just in this constant, and even in the Baha'i tradition, to be human is to forget. And so there is this forgetting of our true identity, which is, you know, the infinite, because we're energy, we share this universe, this one biosphere that all the evidence would say that we are together and sharing some big life, right? And yet what we've devised is a system that is so divide and conquer everywhere. Like you're saying, there's so much grief. And I think the grieving is so needed and so difficult because we don't have rites of passage in this society. We don't have space for those kind of that depth of healing in the get things done, especially as parents, how busy we are. How do we process, oh, I made a mistake? Or even sometimes thinking about the world our kids are inheriting, which obviously every parent must encounter every day. There's not a day that goes by where at least 15 times I'm not terrified, or sometimes even in tears, just thinking about what is this world that I've brought new life into. How do you all, I guess maybe you can help me. How do you all, what's the word, mitigate or just process that in healthy ways so that we can show up in our highest and best for our children, because actually simultaneously life is getting better and there's amazing things happening all the time. So it is this really interesting light and dark playing out in our existence. And, you know, yeah, the ways that, I mean, systemic racism is just one of these many huge things that are impacting us personally. We have to navigate all that as parents and be some sense of sanity and grounding, so that it's not so overwhelming. I remember my mom always saying, well, orient yourself around love, especially when you're overwhelmed, and especially when you don't know where to go. And that was helpful for me growing up, like just that simple reminder. Do you all have some ways that both for parents and for your kids, I guess, what are some tools that you bring in your parenting journey?
I mean, personally, I never felt that I shouldn't bring someone into this place. When I found out there was someone coming to this place, I was like, oh yeah, this one's gonna be the one. Like, I saw the future versus like, oh, what am I doing? And might be a little bit of naivete, because we are living in this world, and it's a valid thought to be like, why would I bring a child into this? I think it's valid. It's a valid thought. But I also feel like we're in a place that the change that we are looking for will never, reconciling with it will never probably happen the way we want it to. But we are also witnessing change in microcosms every day, and like the more micros, the bigger it'll affect the macro. And I feel like kids that are being brought into the world right now are the ones that are going to actually learn more than we did, and they're going to do more than we did, and they're going to actually and we are going to let them be the humans that they are, and not treat them like the older person to the younger person. I think like there's a lot of us out there that are raising our kids completely differently, where it's not like, I'm your dad and you have to do this. Don't get it twisted. There's those moments, but for the most part, we're letting our kids be these individuals without being too Berkeley about it. You know what I mean? And like letting them be humans, which my parents were like, nah, you don't get to be that, because I'm gonna shape you, and you get to do this because I said so, and you don't have an opinion, and shut up.
Yeah.
You know what's funny about that though is like how you're like, I don't think your lived experience of being a child and mine compare. Like, I feel like I'm interrupting white parenting. I love my mom and dad. They're like in process with me, but like white kids are given way too much permission to do whatever. And what you're talking about is actually something not that. It's actually like this conversation of like, we understand and we see the world as it is together.
Right.
So it's not like, let's separate, like, okay, well, just like, you can just run through the store, kids. That's fine. Like, do whatever. It's your place. It's your space.
Yeah. And that's funny because you're saying you're interrupting white parenting. I think I'm interrupting scared parenting. Because our parents were super scared.
Yeah.
That because of where they came from, and because of who we are and what the color of our skin is, they were just scared, fucking scared. You know what I mean? So like, it was based, all of our discipline, rules, that was based in fear, wrapped in love. You know what I mean? Because your parents, they love you so much. And like when they hurt you in a way, that's where the term comes from. This hurts me worse than it hurts you. You know what I mean? Like, because I have to make you do this. Otherwise, we might not survive. You know what I mean? Like, now it's more like, hey, let's figure out some ways to survive, both of us. And And yes, I'm a scared parent, but at the same time, you're a scared kid too. And so let's not, you know what I mean? Let me not base everything I have, let me put not all that fear on you and how I raise you. And I'm not saying that our parents were wrong for that, because they had legitimate reasons to be scared and to raise their kids. Like 8 kids, like my parents raising 8 kids, like they had to put the hammer down sometime. You know what I mean? Like it had to be that way because of where we came from. But I think we're in a new generation now where it's like, okay, let's just actually let's let the human experience ride with it now.
Little
Listening.
bit more listening and trust. Yeah. Sorry, Caitlin. If you.
No, I was going to say that too, and I was also going to say that to your question about like bringing children into the world, or even like witnessing and supporting children as they grow right now. Like there's like my healing place is going into nature and sharing that with my kids. Like I take my littles like once a week in the morning. We go out, and it's honestly not that long. Just park the car, take our journals in there. We have a little muffin that we made 2 weeks earlier. And I'm trying to invite this process that isn't even natural to me, but I like it. And I say not natural because we talked about the to-do list, and sure, that is a way to navigate, especially as an artist entrepreneur, but like it actually makes a lot of sense to me to be in the space of wonder. So how do you access that when my mind will be wandering to, 500,000 and counting? The fact that a boy's walking home from work to his house and is accosted by the police. Like, yes, those things are in my heart, and it's not like I'm going to the woods to avoid them, but I am going to try to find and hear this spirit of life and of possibility. Like I yesterday just wrote in the journal, like, can everyone in life just have the moment to see? This is y'all are gonna be like, yo, Caitlin. Not Aaron though.
Not Aaron, no.
Come on, bring it
up. I'm really seeing the light hit the trees. Like this is magnificent, and these trees have already witnessed morning, and they told me. Like I was like in my y'all are in your feelings now, but I'm going to tell you anyway.
Wow.
They say, look, you can cry here, please, but you're not the first, and you are not ours. Like we are not yours. Like we are reflections. There's this like, if redwood trees have been on our planet for longer than we can imagine, then they've already witnessed all of the atrocities of our human kind that we are still trying to undo and not reinstate, but to not even just do differently, but radically reimagine. I mean, that has to be a practice. And here are these trees just sitting there with like layers of bark, and I'm all, whoa. So if I can like see those through my kids' eyes, like they can count acorns, whatever. Like there's a part where they are not the center of the universe.
All right.
And yet they're also like in their very, very small minds. I don't actually know. That's the magic of witnessing one another over time.
Hey, this is
I think those moments of wonder.
I get it. And I hate to throw a non sequitur up in there, but do you think that mankind, the word, has anything to do with the word kind?
Come on, Tommy.
I don't know. I just thought about it.
Or kindness.
Kind, we say maggot. Does it have to do with anything with kindness? Like,
okay.
Or is
Hold
it
on.
connected?
Let me go into my dictionaries here.
I mean,
because also they say
I'm just gonna drop the beat. And we're gonna start writing. Okay. We're gonna start writing to that.
Journals.
I wonder, like, if it's connected to kindness. I don't know. I mean, it should be. It sounds like it's a
and that
word.
human has humus and humility and humility. Humus is maybe more of a random scientific term to throw out there, but humility is interesting and maybe connects to the kindness. I love where. Well, first of all, thank you for sharing your adventure out into the woods with your child. It's so beautiful, and it's so timely and such a great that story is an invitation for what we're hoping to do with the Welcome to Earth conversations that we're building, is really just, let's go try this stuff out, try a different, reimagine how we're, not just how we're parenting, but how we're being with ourselves, and so that we can show up for, you know, for the bigger societal work that, you know, we're all committed to. And I think that's, I mean, it's very powerful, that story.
And I would just say to, like, it's literally like maybe 15 minutes. It's not a long trip. He's 4.
That's all it takes,
like,
though.
He wanders, but it's like, that's also a nugget where I'm like, okay, well, I can make that happen. You know, I can fit it in, as it were, you know, in between nap times and this and that. But like, yeah, I want, and it's like, you know, in going forward, like Tom and I have been processing this, like we're working all the time on this work, and we also as parents somehow need to restore. And that us artists, you know, we've lost everything in a way, and we're reinventing it because we're magical. And like, that restoration has to come from ourselves. Like, we have to really say it's so worth it, you know?
That is the truth right there. Yeah. Self-care, self-help, you know, just, yeah, as somebody that is a huge self-care proponent, I cannot show up, whether it's a protest or a city council meeting or a board meeting or a pitch or whatever, or a performance. I would be a disservice if I'm showing up taxed and not, and it's very, and I recognize how challenging that is. But like you're saying, I always say, just take 2 minutes sometime just to tune into your breath and seeing how simple that is and how transformative that can be for our work and our lives, and especially for how we're showing up for these little angels coming in. Because that, you know, it is about the next generations. We're a part of that continuum. But I love this conversation. I want to just talk and hang with you all day.
Forever.
I just got to say real quick though, that Caitlin, all this talk about loving the wilderness and stuff just means when the world opens up again, we can do Cazadero Camp again.
You're a mess. I didn't say I wanted to camp, but he's clowning me because one time he tricked me into some like wilderness camp, which I was cool with. I liked the idea of it. And we rolled up, and you know, I was about to get married to my husband. Like 5 days later, everyone's like, I can't believe you're going to do a camp. I'm like, we're on the grind. We got tours to run. So we pulled up. And oh my gosh, we went into this thing. I said, oh my gosh, I'm going to sleep right next to you on these little dirt on the ground. Like, what is going on? That was the summer where we were like, we need a rider.
Totally right.
Because we had gone to this hotel in Colorado, and we were like,
hilarious.
Oh, hey, you. We're going to be sharing a hotel room.
Right.
We're like,
oh my God.
We need a rider.
That's hilarious.
Oh my God, but true. Actually, Tommy, if you want to go hit the trails sometime.
Oh, we got that's in the works for sure.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
That's the best. That's the best. Let me know when I can come, and I'll come and carry your bags.
Great.
And also you can carry my kid.
I'll carry your kid too. Yeah. I'm getting good on the kids on the shoulders, although now my daughter's hit 40 pounds, and I'm slowly, as she rises, I'm falling.
Yeah.
But I'm so grateful for you all, and I'm definitely gonna keep you posted about when this launches. I just want to honor our time together and thank you so much for diving in. It's a blessing to have some storytelling and some insight and reflection, even from a distance, even in our very, the spectrum of our lives right now. So it means a lot to me. And I hope it means a lot to our listeners out there and to folks that are tuning in. Definitely keep up with Alphabet Rockers. Special shout out though to all the parents out there. I know you're on the grind. Big
and
love.
If y'all want to get down with some anti-racism work, we have a curriculum on our website. We got work to do. is really of ease and with love. So if you want to get that love that Aaron was mentioning, jump on alphabetrockers.com. We got work to do.
And it's entry level. So wherever you enter it, you're in it.
Oh, wow. We definitely want to promote that. That's so important. Alphabetrockers.com for sure. Check that out. And it's a movement. All right, y'all. Thank you so much for being here. Well, Earthlings, that's all I have for you today. Thank you for being on this ride with me. And more than that, thank you for being here for yourselves, your family. The next generation appreciates you. Join me next week as we dive into more amazing topics in everything family. You don't want to miss it. In the meantime, give us a follow on all the socials at Welcome to Earth Show and at Aaron Abelman for more parent-friendly, kid-approved content. This is Aaron Abelman, your guide for the Welcome to Earth podcast, officially unplugging. Peace.